Striving for intrinsic motivation. That's not something that we can magically poof to ourselves as adults. It's something we should have learned as a child, and we want our children to learn now. So when they get to be an adult, they already know that posting on social media for likes is not healthy, is not good. And that taking a job that we hate just because of the money is not healthy and not good. So these are things we want to teach them, intrinsic motivation, but every time we give a reward, we're showing the extrinsic motivation. We're promoting that instead. One of the resources that you will see on the list at the end is an article by Alfie Kohn. He's a renowned writer and speaker on human development, education, and parenting. The article is titled The Risks of Rewards, or The Risk in the Rewards, or something like that. But one of the things he says in that article, I took a quote from it, is good values have to be grown from the inside out. And this is a great way to sum up that intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation piece, because good values come from inside instead of outside of us. And we want our kid to want to be a good person and to learn responsibility and to make good choices and to be brave and all of these things. And those come from the inside of them, from their insides, instead of from the outside. I'm going to check the chat one more time. There's another. Okay, Punished by Rewards. That's a book. So you can get that probably at your library. Might even be maybe an audiobook. I don't know. I'd have to look it up and see. Okay. So here are the meat and potatoes. I'm done talking about what you shouldn't be doing. So many times we already know what we shouldn't be doing, but we don't know any better. And we don't know what we should be doing instead. So we're going to go through some things that we can be doing instead of punishing, and then things we can be doing instead of rewarding our children, that when used with consistency can get us not only immediate results, can get behaviors changed that we need changed right away, but can also have long-lasting benefits to our child as they learn the greater lessons through those things. So one of the things you can do instead of punishing your child is to just allow for natural consequences. That's one of the best ways for them to learn the error of their ways. Natural consequences. If they don't eat their dinner, instead of punishing them with no TV or whatever it is, the natural consequence is, well, they're just going to be hungry later. I'm sorry that you're hungry. You chose not to eat dinner. That's just the consequence of not eating. Dinner's done now. We don't have any more food out at the table anymore. We're done. The consequence is that you're going to be hungry for a little while. Allowing for natural consequences. Meeting their needs ahead of time. A lot of behaviors that bug us are needs our child is trying to express. The kid wants your attention all the time. Your child is calling your name all the time. You're on the phone, you're on a Zoom meeting, you're trying to do work from home, you're cooking dinner, you're doing all the things, and they're tapping you and they're right at your side and they're tugging on your clothes and they need you right now. They need you right now. This is so important. And of course, it's not important. They just want your attention. But that's what they need. They need your attention. That child needs attention. So if you meet their need ahead of time, you may not need to punish at all. So if you have something coming up that you are not going to be able to focus on your child through, spend 15 solid minutes one-on-one doing whatever they want to do, where you are fully involved, fully invested, everything else is away, and fill up that attention bucket so you can say, okay, now for the next little bit, I have to be in a meeting. I'm going to have my headphones in. I won't be able to hear you. As soon as my meeting is done, we'll play another round of our game. Now you've played a couple of rounds already. You've met the need for attention. Some of our kids need power. They really want control. You might recognize that in your own kid. They fight for power. You feel threatened a lot. As you know, you just want to say, but because I'm the parent, because I said so. If that's your response, you've probably been fighting for power. If you feel the need to assert your authority into the conversation and remind them who's in charge, it's because they've been fighting for power. So give them some power ahead of time. If you know something is always a battle, give them lots of choices leading up to that thing. There are some things they don't get choices about. There are some things they don't have control over, and they're going to have to deal with that. But there are a lot of things that we do for our kids that they could have control over if we just would give it to them. So give them power ahead of time. If that's what they need, give them lots of choices. Let them dress themselves, full autonomy on what clothes they put on their body every day. They're going to look ridiculous and nobody cares. You will feel like everybody is looking at you in the store. But you know what the parents in the store are thinking when they see you walking with your mismatched, crazy-haired child? That parent let them dress themselves. And that's it. That's it. Nobody thinks that you picked out those clothes and put them on your child. Everyone knows you let your kid dress themselves. That's it. Let them, give them that power. Just give them power where you can so that they don't have to fight you for it later on, meeting their needs ahead of time. Show empathy for your child's feelings. Sometimes they just don't want to do what you want them to do. And it's okay to say, I understand that feeling. I have to do things I don't want to do too. Commiserate with them for a little bit. It's all right. It doesn't hurt anything. I don't want to pick up all these toys either, but we have to do it. Let's do it together. Let's get it done. Showing them empathy can really help make them feel like they're not alone. They don't have to do it by themselves. You understand them. They feel heard and accepted and loved. And you don't even need to punish them. Just by giving them that security, they're more willing to do what you've asked them to do and to spend the time to pick up that entire room full of toys because they know they've been heard. They know that you know they don't want to do it and that those feelings are okay. I understand. I often don't want to clean. Explain your own feelings. Even beyond showing empathy or sympathy with your child and saying, I feel the same way sometimes, you can share your own feelings when they're completely different from your child's. I feel angry when you don't, whatever it is. I get really frustrated inside. I feel really frustrated when I have to ask you 3 times. Share your feelings. Let them understand how their actions are affecting you. Share your feelings to them. Empathy is not something that we're born with. something we have to learn. It takes a long time. Your young child will not really be empathetic for a while. It's really hard for them to understand that other people have feelings that are the same as theirs. That if I get hit and it hurts me, when I hit them, it also hurts them. So explaining our own feelings and how their actions affect us help in that. It helps them understand where that comes from and how their actions affect us. So explain your feelings and take a break. Okay, I'm going to share something. I feel like this is a safe zone, right? All of you woodland people are lovely, I'm sure. Teacher Michelle would never lead me astray into a lion's den. My own parents, if you're still here, this is, I'm sure you're cool. This is a safe space. So I'm just going to say, I grew up being spanked and I started raising my children using spanks because that was how I was raised and that was how we did it. It's how my husband was raised. And that was what we did. And I got to the point where I felt like it wasn't working. I needed to try something different. And someone gave me advice to use a wooden spoon. Instead of using my hand, to use a wooden spoon. To keep it in a space, in the kitchen, on a shelf, wherever. Keep it somewhere where you know where it is all the time. And resolve to only ever spank your child with that wooden spoon. And that sounds like horrible advice. I realize that sounds like this person is a terrible human. But what that did was it required me to leave the situation, walk into the other room, and pick up a tool with which I was going to hit my child. And just that break was enough for me to realize that I did not want to do what I was about to do, and there was a better way. Though I just needed to walk away from the situation and hold something in my hand that I was going to use to hurt my child. And I never used it. I didn't do it. That was what I needed to. Spanking is an impulse. It's an in the moment, I am angry release of frustration. Sometimes we need to take a break. That's the only way that we can make sure we are not punishing our child. We just have to walk away and take a break. I don't like your behavior right now. I need to go cool down, and then we'll discuss this in a little bit. Take a break. If that's what you need to do. I'm not suggesting you get a wooden spoon. Don't do that. There are other better ways than that. Don't do that. That's not the moral of the story. But it worked for me because it made me take a break. It made me walk away and really think about what I was doing. So sometimes we just have to take a break. Okay. Oops. What to do instead of rewarding your child? Some of us are fine with not really punishing. We're not spankers. We don't do that. We don't really threaten them with anything. But boy, oh boy, do we hand out the rewards left and right. So let's talk about things we can do instead of rewarding our child. We can help them to self-evaluate. This is, remember, we're building the intrinsic motivation. We're building the desire within themselves to do good, to do the right thing. So you must be so proud for finishing that. Is that right? Are you feeling proud right now? We're going to help them self-evaluate their feelings in a job well done. What? How do you feel now that you've cleaned up that entire room? How do you feel? Look around. Help them to evaluate how they're feeling when they do something that they're supposed to do, something good, something done well. So help them self-evaluate, help them to think about and feel their emotions and then say that to you. Use descriptive words instead of value words. Instead of, hey, I really like that. Try, you got in the car the first time I asked. There's no value to them getting in the car. Not good, not bad. They got in the car the first time you asked. You've just stated a description of what they did, and you said it in a voice that sounded good, and they are happy. Hey, I did. I got in the car the first time she asked. Look at that, I did. Yes, I did. And then they feel good about it because you noticed it. They feel good. Bam, reward right in here, right inside them. Reinforce family and community values. Saying things like, in our family, we, whatever it is. In our family, we do not throw things at each other. That is not how we communicate that we're feeling upset. Or, in order to be a good neighbor, we really need to, whatever it is, we really need to put all of our bikes away at the end of the day. Or, in order to be a good neighbor, we need to stop throwing our toys over the fence. Showing them how their actions fit in the family and community around them. In our family, we have our meal times together. So even though you're not hungry and you say you don't want to eat, I'm expecting you to be at the table instead of, okay, if you come to the table, you can have your dessert first. And that'll get them to the table. But in our family, this is what we do. Helps them feel unity and a team with the group. Comment on the behavior, but not so much on the person. So saying something like, we want to stay away from traditional praise, right? We don't want to say good job. That's again a value word. So we don't want to value them necessarily or what they've done. But sometimes we want them to know that we are pleased with what they did. So we would say, it looks so clean in here. This is wonderful. Instead of, you picked up all your toys, good job. We can comment on the behavior instead. Remark about what they've done instead of on them as a person, that they are good or they did well. I heard you brush your teeth. So clean. That's on the behavior instead of the person. And then lastly, congratulate, don't manipulate. When we use rewards and we offer them before the task has happened or before the behavior has been accomplished, if you do this, then you get this, then we're really just trying to manipulate them. I mean, really we are. We're just trying to manipulate them. But if they do the behavior and we congratulate them at the end, they still get a reward. The reward is the good feelings and your acknowledgement and your attention. And whatever it is you're giving, you're speaking to them and helping them feel and recognize their own emotions inside for what they've done, instead of manipulating them into doing it ahead of time. So instead of rewarding, stating the reward ahead, that will be the manipulation. Congratulate them at the end for the job well done. I'm going to read the thing. Can you see this? This is one of my dads. He's a super dad, FYI. I'm sure you all have super dads in your Woodland program. Jack Kessler is one of our super dads. Spare the rod, spoil the child. I've heard that. Yeah, over and over and over. Never hit her. So far, so good. I'm really proud of that. I wish I could have said that myself, but I couldn't say that as a parent. Couldn't say that. I'm really proud of you. That's amazing. Well done. So I want a little bit more feedback. You can either keep using that chat or you can just talk, unmute yourselves if you'd like. I'd like to hear what strategies, other than punishments or rewards, you already use or that you've thought of that you would like to start using. What ideas do you have? I only gave some. There are lots of things you could be doing. So I'm just wondering if you do anything that you'd like to share with anyone that really works for you, that's not a bribe and not a threat, but helps get the message of behavior expectations across, or things that are not your typical rewards that you use. Is there anyone who wants to share something or something they've tried?
So I have 2 kids, which means I kind of get to pit them against each other in some ways. But something I do sometimes is like if Naya takes something from Eli, I would say, would you like it if Eli did that to you? And to like try to get them to think from the other person's perspective of what's happening. But I will say it's backfired a few times, because if they got hit and I said, what would you do? Then they would say, yeah, I'd want to hit them back. So it doesn't always work. Like if their true feeling is like, yeah, that is what I would do. But it's worked with mixed results, to, like I said, to get them to think how the other person would feel.
Yes. How old is, so is Naya the old one?
Yeah, she's 6 and Eli's 4.
Okay, yeah. 6 is about the age when they can really start to figure out what, they might feel if that happened to them, or how the other person is feeling. For like a 3-year-old, even sometimes 4-year-olds, it doesn't work so well because they just can't make that connection. So we would just have to tell them, hey, they feel this way. And I noticed that you felt that way too last time, or whatever it is. But 6 is a good age to get them to really start thinking about how that would feel in the reverse. Good. Mr. Jack, I see your hand is up.
Hi, Mrs. Hinton.
Hi.
Kennedy and I do a lot of real world consequences unless it comes back to her safety. So like when she gets dressed in the morning, she dresses herself, unless it's like she wants to wear shorts and it's 40 degrees outside. Same thing with like the food. You use that example where if she's not eating her meal, like once dinner's done, and she doesn't get to eat that till the next morning. One thing I struggle with though is that she's like, I feel like she's manipulating me, especially in the classroom whenever it comes time to clean up. And she's like, I know what to do. I'm going to hide. And I'm like, I get very, very frustrated that I have to actually step away from everybody else because I'm like, my kid is hiding while all these other kids are cleaning up. And it's like, what do I do?
Okay. First thing I want to say is that how your child acts when you are there is almost always different than how they act when you are not there. There's usually a difference, and often your child acts worse in your eyes when you are there. They're more clingy, or they're more defiant, or they push more boundaries, or whatever it is when you are there than they do when you are not there, because you're their safe person. So they feel like you're my safe person. I can just do what I want and express all of the emotions and let them spill out everywhere. Something we've discussed already is that she does hide during cleanup most days, even when you're not there. And this is going to be a time where consistency is key. We're just going to have to be consistent in our expectations. It's totally fine if you need to not be the one to handle that. If it needs to be someone else in the classroom for your child, I have started assigning her tasks. Sometimes it could come from being overwhelmed with how much there is to clean up, because there's usually a lot to put away by the end. And so she may be feeling overwhelmed with all of that stuff. Plus, all the other kids are running around crazy and putting stuff away, and it's maddening. So I've started just assigning her something that I saw her playing with. Your job is going to be this. And it's not a negotiation. This is your job. And she can usually complete that job with a reminder or two. And I don't know that I would say that she is manipulating as much as she is just trying to see what she can get away with. She is just pushing some boundaries, and those are phases that kids go through. They just go through them, and she'll figure out her lane in a little bit, because you're going to stay consistent and you're going to expect her to meet expectations every time, and she's going to figure it out. And then, a little while down the road, another year or 2 years, she's going to have another big, like, ooh, let's push some boundaries. Let's see what I can get away with. And then you're going to stay consistent, and she's going to get back on the path and be fine. And then she's going to be 13 and it's all out the window, and she's pushing boundaries again, and it's all craziness. And she's going to come back, because we're going to keep consistent. So there are phases that they go through, but we are going to stay consistent. And you're going to stay consistent with stating what the expectations are ahead of time, during it, and then letting her know how proud you are when she's finished it, and asking her how she feels about herself when she's finished it. How do you feel now that you were a part of everyone cleaning up the classroom? You were a big part of that. How does that feel? And see if we can't get some of that intrinsic motivation in her for the cleaning up of toys. Cleaning up toys is a hard one.
Thank you.
Yeah. I just did last week a parent ed for, we're calling it caregiver support, for our James Marshall family in West Sac. And it was on the big 3 battles: eating, sleeping, and cleaning up toys. Oy, 3 of the hardest things. Anyone else? Anything you want to share? Any ideas you have? Anything you want to toss out there? Never have too many ideas.
Zeneva, I think I saw you unmute if there was something you wanted to ask or add. Or maybe it was just a random unmuting.
I don't mind jumping in real quick. I just was gonna, I was gonna say that, sort of giving my daughter some like warning of what's to come goes a long way to, helping her navigate whatever's coming. So to alleviate when we're going into a situation that we know is going to be problematic for one reason or another, if we kind of walk her through it ahead of time and let her know just what you were talking about, what the expectation is.
Mm-hmm.
She seems to do a little better at navigating what's coming. Obviously, she's kind of like, we've walked her through it, and now she kind of, knows what's coming down the stream for her.
That's super important for some kids.
Yeah, and I think it really seems to work. It worked for her when she knows what the plan is and what she's gonna have coming at her. She can negotiate better the situation. But I was gonna ask your advice. We've been noticing lately that she's reluctant to join in activities that she knows she's not gonna do well at, or she thinks she's not gonna do well at. Mm-hmm. And I know that's totally the extrinsic versus intrinsic thing going on there, but she doesn't want to participate in something that she's not going to win at. And kind of, you know, ideas for how to help her get over that.
We're going to try and find ways to just boost her confidence. We're going to find things that maybe aren't those specific things, but things that she's never tried before and wants to try, and see how that happens. And we're going to really emphasize the effort and not the end result in almost everything she does. So it's that she starts to see it's not about how it turns out in the end. It's more about that I tried, that I did it, that I had fun, or, you know, whatever feelings came from the trying of that activity. We're going to give her maybe opportunities to be a little more independent to help build that self-confidence too. Just little things, like she says she's thirsty, and it, okay, well, there's a plastic cup on the counter. You can get some water. I'm just letting her try and do that on her own. And then when she spills, it's, oh my goodness, you got the cup, you got to the sink, and you filled it up. Now you filled it up a little bit too far, but that's okay, because now we know next time we're only going to fill it up halfway instead of all the way. So that way we don't spill. And we really notice all of the things, all of the effort she put in, and that it's not about the end result. And then just see how many opportunities you can find to really, you know, notice the process as opposed to the product, the end thing.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. There's a little fella in one of my classes currently who has a similar disposition, that he doesn't want to try it if he doesn't think he's going to do well at it. That's also, I can understand that. I feel that as a human. I feel that if I can't do it well, I don't want to do it at all. It's taken me a really long time to do some things in my life that I should have done a long time ago, just because I didn't think that I could do them perfectly. And so I missed out on some stuff because I didn't try. I was too scared.
Yeah, I absolutely recognize the inclination. Like, I definitely see it in myself, and I definitely understand, but you know, I'm watching her enact it, and I'm thinking to myself, like, man, how do we help her get over this so that she
I make her not like me.
Yeah, let's not have her have my struggles, please.
Can I jump in here for just a second? Because I'm a recovering perfectionist myself. And I had a parent who was a psychologist once, and she actually told me something I didn't know about developmental lit. Perfectionism is hereditary. So it makes sense that it can travel down through us. And Erin's point about like the process versus the product, or like the joy of doing things rather than of messing about, doing things that don't have any kind of end result, and trying new things, and celebrating messing up. Oh, wow, that was horrible. Let's do a horrible thing. This is really great. You did it. Making it okay, for things not to turn out well. And things, being able to empathize when something doesn't turn out well. And maybe make it light and fun that it didn't turn out well. So knowing that there's sometimes when you're going to just need it to empathize, but then there'll be other times where you can just make it fun. My husband and I had this whole discussion about like just whoops, as a response to messing up, because we're human.
Oh, practicing making mistakes just gives me anxiety thinking about it. Oh, that's a hard one. But maybe if you start young, it's not so hard. I teach that. I mean, all the time, mostly art related. When the kid tries to make a dog and it doesn't look like the dog that they wanted it to look like or whatever it is. That was a great first attempt. You learned a lot of lessons in that. Let's try it again. Here's a new piece of paper. Let's do it again. I wonder what will change this time. What are you going to do different? And just learning from the process. That's a big part of what you do as a teacher. But to think about learning through the process as a human, it's hard for me. So I understand. Rachel had a question in the chat about when your child just refuses to follow through with expectations. She did note that her daughter is 2, so I'm thinking our behavior is pretty typical for our age. And she also notes that she can see that attention or power dynamic might be something that would be helpful to make sure she gets that one-on-one time ahead of time. Also, maybe consider like setting the expectations up far in advance with the warnings. It's going to be time to get ready to go soon. When it's time, I'm going to need you to put your boots on. That's her job, is to get her own boots on. She can do that by herself, maybe. That's it. Or bedtime is coming up soon, and then the first thing we're going to do is brush our teeth. Bedtime's coming up in 10 more minutes, and then we're going to head to brush our teeth. Don't forget, it's almost bedtime. The first thing we're going to do is, and I bet she's going to be able to say, wash my teeth or whatever. And so try that, giving, the warnings ahead of time. That might help. So that, that repetition over and over and knowing what to expect, that might really help. Jack just messaged also about co-sleeping. I'm going to say a couple of things, and then, Mr. Kessler, I'm going to direct you to the link that I sent out today for my online course on eating, sleeping, and cleaning up toys, because there's a whole section on sleeping and what you can do about that. So there's a whole section in there with videos and resources on sleeping. So I'm going to direct you to that. But trying to get our kids to not sleep in our bed, like, it takes determination. I mean, you have to really be resolved that you want to change this in order to make it happen, because it's going to take serious consistency and serious repetitions for there to be a change in this behavior. Co-sleeping is really hard. It's really cute when they're little and it's great to have them nearby, but it's really hard when they are kicking and pushing you out of the way and stealing all of your blankets and taking up half of the bed. So it's putting her to bed in her own bed. It's finding a strategy that works just for that. If she starts in her own bed already, then you're halfway there. Then it's just returning her to her bed consistently every single time. This is your bed. This is my bed. This is your bed. This is my bed. There are some tricks. If you put them in to start her in her bed. If that's not where she even starts to sleep, then there are some tricks for that. Making her part of that process. You can help her design the routine to get into bed So she's decided all of the steps that happen before we get into bed. She has the opportunity to like design her bed, which pillows, which animals, which blanket she wants, and have all of that ready to go in her bed. And it's all her choices. Working your way out slowly. You're going to start sleeping in your bed, but I'm going to sit right here next to you until you fall asleep. And then spending a few nights sitting next to the bed while she falls asleep so she knows she's not alone. And then moving the chair a little bit further away so she can't quite reach you, but you're still right there. I'm still right here. You're okay. I'm still right. I'm not leaving you. I'm right here. And then chair moves a little bit further away and a little bit further away. That was one of the things I did with my daughter who went through a phase of not being able to sleep without me. So I just kept, eventually I was just sitting in the doorway. I used excuses usually, like, you know, I had other kids, so it was, well, I have to be able to hear if your sisters need me. So I'm just going to sit over here in the doorway so I can also hear them. But I'm right here for you. Don't worry. I'm still right here. I just need to be able to hear them too. So, you know, my phone's in the other room, so I have to be able to hear if my phone goes off. I'm right here, but I just need to be able to hear. So I'm going to be in the doorway. You're not alone. I'm right here. Then working your way out slowly. Pretty soon she's going to be able to sleep in her own bed because she'll get used to being able to do that. There are some other tricks. Again, do that parent online course that I sent out, because that will have some more about the consistency, the repetition, and the teamwork. Like those are the 3 strategies that I highlight for getting your kids to eat and to sleep and to clean up their toys. So we can talk more about that too, since it is a little bit off topic for tonight. We can discuss later as well, but do that thing. I'm going to change this slide once more real quick. Now, if you have Zoomed me from your cell phone, I don't know how this works. So at the end, I'll stop sharing my screen and I'll put just the link to the Google Doc in the chat real quick. But if you're on a laptop or a computer or a screen where you can click the QR code thing, it's going to take you to the Google Doc that's a list of links to all the articles that I used for putting this presentation together. So you have some things you can read. You'll see I didn't make this stuff up. It comes from other people too. They agree. Cites research more accurately. So that is available there. Give you another second to see if you can get that, and then I will stop sharing the screen. You guys can ask more questions or chat amongst yourselves or whatever you would like to do. And I will stop sharing my screen, and I will put the link to that Google Doc in the chat for those who can't use that little QR code thing. Okay.
Erin, thank you so much.
No problem. This was fun.
Coming in, doing our class with us today. We do have a parent meeting that's coming up after this. So
Okay. Oops. Let me get you your link and then I will move on.
And I'll send you the registration list for tonight.
Oh, thank you.
So we'll be in contact. But yes, thank you so much for your time, and to all the parents on the call for your participation and questions. Thanks, everyone.
Erin, I have a question. Are the slides part of those Google Docs too?
No, it's a PowerPoint. Can I like email it to you and you can share it with people if they want it?
I think.
Okay. All right, I'll do that.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. No problem. Thank you, guys.
Yay.
Nice to virtually meet you all.
Thank
you to my
you.
parents who came too. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks. WPNS families, let's take let's see, my clock says 8:16. I don't know. One computer says 8:14, another one says 8:19. I'm just gonna set a 5-minute timer. And we'll hop back on in a little bit. So see you in all in a
Minutes?
Yep.
Okay. See you guys in 5 minutes.